Geoffrey Chaucer was born in 1340 and in October 1400 he died. Was an English poet, author, civil servant, best known for the Canterbury Tales. He has been the father of English literature. All alternately, the father of English poetry, he was the first writer to be buried in what has since come to be called Poet Corner in Westminster Abbey. Chaucer also gained fame as a philosopher and astronomer, composing the scientific treatise on astrology for 10 years, Old St. Lewis. He maintained a career in civil services as barricade, courtier, diplomat, and member of parliament. Among Chaucer's many other works is the Book of Duchess, the House of Fames, the Legend of Good Women, and Trials and Cressida. He is seen as crucial in legitimizing the literary use of Middle English, when the dominant literary language in England was still Anglo-Norman French and Latin. Chaucer's contemporary Thomas Huxley hailed him as the first finder of European language. Almost 2,000 English words are the first attested to Chaucerian manuscripts. Life: Chaucer was born in London, most likely in the early 1340s. By some accounts, including his monuments, he was born in 1343. Though the precise date indications remain unknown, the Chaucer family offered an extraordinary example of upward mobility. His great-grandfather was a tavern keeper, his grandfather was a purveyor of wine, and his father, John Chaucer, rose to become a potent wine merchant with a royal appointment. Several previous generations of Geoffrey Chaucer's family had been vintners and merchants in its spirit. His family name is derived from the French chausserier, once thought to mean shoemaker, but now known to mean a maker of hose or leggings. In 1324, his father John Chaucer was kidnapped by an aunt in the hope of marrying the 12-year-old to her daughter in an attempt to keep the property of Israel. The aunt was imprisoned and fined 50 euros, and now equivalent to about 2 lakh euros, which suggests that the family was financially secure. John was married against Captain who inherited properties in 1349, including 24 shops in London from her uncle Homo de Coptons, who described a well dated 3rd April 1344 and listed in the city hosting role is Moners, said to be Moner, the Tower of London. Career: while records concerning the lives of contemporary William Langlands and Gawain's poets are practically non-existent, since Chaucer was a public servant in official life is well documented with nearly 500 written items testifying to his career. The first of the Chaucer life record appears in 1357 in the household account of Elizabeth de Bora, the Countess of Leicester, when he became the nobleman page through his father connections, a common medieval form of apprenticeship for boys into knighthood or to stage appointment. The countess was married to Linus, Duke of Clarence, the second surviving son of the king, Edward III, and the position brought the teenage Chaucer into the close court circle, where he was to remain for the rest of his life. He also worked as a courier, a diplomat, and a civil servant, as well as working for the king from 1389 to 1391 as clerk of the king's wards. In 13 stages of the Hundred Years' Wars, Edward III invaded France. Chaucer traveled with Linus of Innsworth, first Duke of Clarence, Elizabeth's husband. Apart from English army, he was captured during the siege of Reims. Edward paid €16 for his ransom, a considerable sum of equivalent to €12,261. Okay, let's start some of the works of Geoffrey Chaucer. What work he wrote was as scholar. Chaucer appeared to have moved a Kent, being appointed one of the commissioners of peace for Kent at a time when French invasion was a possibility. He thought to have started work on the Canterbury Tales in the early 1380s, and he also became a member of Parliament for Kent in 1386 and attempted to run for Parliament that year. He appears to have been present at most of the 71 days it set, for which he was paid €24. On 15 October year he gave for dispositions of scrops gross winner. There is no further references after the date of Pelican. Literary works of Geoffrey Chaucer. Joseph's masterwork was the Book of Duchess, an elegy of Blanche of Lancaster, who died in 1368. Two other early works were Enelada and Arcite. The House of Fame, he wrote many of his major works in prolific period. When he held the jobs of customs control for London, the Parliament of Fools, the Legion of Good Women's, and trials increased all the day from this time. It is believed that the started contemporary tales in 1380s. Chaucer also translated Boetis' Consolations of Philosophy and the Romance of the Rose by Guillaume de Rose, extended by Jean de Meun's. Estrachey Deschamps called himself in Nietzsche a Chaucer Garden of Poetry in 1385. Thomas Yeats made glowing mention of Chaucer and John Gore also lauded him. Chaucer's treatise on the astrolabe described the form and use of astrolabe in details. In some times cited first example of technical writing in English language, and it indicated that Chaucer was versed in science in addition to his literary talents. The Equatory of the Phalanx and the scientific work similar to the treatise and sometimes ascribed to Chaucer because of its language, handwritings, and identifications. Scholars no longer deem tenable influence by whom. Chaucer wrote a continental, essential, syllabic meter, a style which have developed in English literature since around the 12th century is an alternative to alliterative Anglo-Saxon meter. Chaucer is known as metrical innovations, inventing the rhyme royal, and he was of the first English poet to use the five-stress line, a decasyllabic cousin to iambic pentameter, and his work with only few anonymous short works using it before him. The arrangement of these five stress lines into rhyming couplet was seen, and the Legion of Good Women was used in much of his later work and became of the standard poetic forms in English. His early influence is historic, also important with the common numerous devices, the phonic accent of original dialect apparently making it its appearance in Review TV. Thank you for today.